Hi Simon, thanks for coming on. It's lovely to speak to you again.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
So how was your holiday?
Yeah, I had a great time. I went to Valencia and it was 19 degrees and I wasn't freezing cold, which when you've got no hair, obviously is a nice thing. And I just went out there to watch a football match and just have some me time, spent a bit of time writing my second book. And yeah, it was just fun. I was only out there for 4 days, but it was a nice break. Thanks.
Oh, that's amazing.
Well, I'm actually intrigued now. Forget the questions. Tell us about this second book.
Well, I'm about halfway through a second book. The first one has been selling so well, and loads of people have given me some amazing feedback about it, particularly about how easy it is to read, how digestible, how kind of quickly it gets to the bits that people want to hear, rather than some quit alcohol books can be a lot of work and kind of going, and they've definitely got their place, and actually some of those really helped me, but I wanted to keep mine quite light and make it easy for the reader to take action and get to the bits that they really want to hear. So I've had some great feedback about it, but I always also wanted to do a kind of workbook style book, so one where it's over a period of days, maybe 60 days. I've kind of got it at about 50 days so far. You read a chapter a day, and each day there's exercises, not burpees, actual exercises for the reader to complete. So it might be exploring your beliefs about alcohol, or looking at how life might be, and just your core values, things like that, and just really examining yourself and your relationship with drinking, and your kind of wider self in more depth. So the first half of the book, which is 25 days, 25 chapters that I've done, leads the reader up to a point where they make a decision to either take a break from drinking, or to throw the book away and carry on drinking, or whatever it might be. And then the second half of it then will walk them through, hold their hand through a 30-day or whatever break they choose to take, step by step. And hopefully by the end of it, people will be able to reevaluate their relationship with drinking and make a decision about how alcohol fits in their lives. So, but it's hard work. It takes so long.
Oh, it sounds fantastic. It kind of sounds like that should have been your first book, Simon.
Oh my God. It's funny you say that, because so I work with a writing coach called Ginny Carter, and she's amazing. She's had books published herself, and she basically corrects my spelling errors. And Ginny said to me exactly that. She said, this feels like it should be the first book, because the second book is very much how to quit, but also how to survive all the challenges that come up over the longer term. Whereas this one is very much that exploration of self and the relationship with booze, and really getting to a place where you take a break, you make a change. So yeah, you're right. It should have been.
So is it like at the beginning, you can kind of start this while you're still drinking, so at like the curiosity stage?
Yeah, exactly that. And it says at the start, if you are still drinking right now as you're reading this, you don't have to stop now. Later on, yes, I'll ask you to make a decision around taking a break. But if you are drinking now, just do it mindfully. Start to record how much you're drinking. Start to become curious about it. Nothing more.
I really like that. Another book that has similar theme is Alan Carr's Easy Way to Quit Smoking and Drinking, isn't it? That he doesn't ask you to stop straight away, and both of them really, really helped me, especially the smoking one. Like, I stopped smoking 8 years ago, and the fact that he told me that I didn't have to stop straight away.
Well, you wouldn't have done if he'd said you had to.
No, well, that's what I mean, and I wouldn't. And it was like I was getting further and further into the book and thinking, I can't wait to stop. And I think if you've got that, I just think it's going to be brilliant. I'm really looking forward to reading that.
I might have to read it anyway. Yeah, definitely.
Well, I'll send you a draft of it if you want, and you can give me your opinion before.
That would be amazing.
By all means. I've got some cover designs.
On audio though, because she's going to make me read it.
do you know, that's another thing. I haven't, so obviously that's the first one, and I haven't done an audio book, and it was a decision of, do I record the audio book, which takes forever, or do I start writing the one that I've got in my mind and I'm really excited to do? And of course I've started doing the second one, and I have had quite a few people say to me, where's the audio book? I need the audio book. I want to listen to it in the car when I'm driving to work or whatever. And it really is a tough job, and I don't want someone else to record it. I feel I need to record it myself.
Yeah, definitely.
I agree with that. We met somebody actually at a networking event.
Yeah.
And he'd submitted this whole book. We won't say his name because it's unfair and just listen to our podcast. But he'd submitted this whole book. He was really excited about it, and it got rejected because they said he was too animated. Because apparently you've got to speak quite monotonally all the way through.
Blimey, yeah, mine will get rejected for sure then.
I don't know how true that is, but yeah, that's what he said, that it'd been rejected, didn't it?
Yeah.
Mind you, he was really animated though, not like your average animated person.
It's funny though, because I did do the first couple of chapters, and it's the time and the reading of it, as you say, in a certain way with a certain tone, and not going off script, so to speak, as well. You know, when I talk, you want to sort of talk naturally and just go with the flow, but you're sticking to a script. So I can see why it is quite a specialist thing. And, you know, I ended up doing multiple retakes and not really getting very far with it. So it's a work in progress is what I tell people.
Oh, well, I'll look forward to that, Simon, because I'm all about Audible. You're quite happy to read them, aren't you?
Both, yeah. I do both, and then she'll say, "Oh, have you read this?" And I go, "No, you haven't read it. Don't ask me if I've read it. Have you listened to?" So, talking about going off script, I was obviously there for the Mindful Drinking Festival, and honestly, I saw so many talks on that day, and yours was just lovely.
So, thanks.
Matt, you said yourself, didn't you? You'd gone off script and you'd gone over what you wanted to do.
Yeah, I did, absolutely.
How genuine you were.
Oh, thanks. I do try and speak from the heart, and I think that I actually think that's one of the reasons that quite a lot of people have connected with me and sort of resonate with some of the things I say. I don't mean that like in a kind of big-headed way, like loads of people connect with me, but I just think people see that he's a normal guy. He's quit drinking, and he's achieved things like getting a book out and building a Facebook group and a community, without all the ego that sometimes comes with those kind of things. And and when they hear my story, I just tell it like it is, really. And sure, I get emotional and I cry sometimes.
It was lovely, it really was. And I loved the bit about, and this is what we wanted to talk to you a little bit about, really, is from your perspective, parenting, because both of us are parents, and we've had our different challenges. We've got an age range of 3 to 21 in 22, pretty much, in age range. So we have very different parenting challenges, but one thing that we haven't heard a lot of on our podcast is dad's perspectives and male perspectives. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's a big topic as well. And the other thing I was just going to say about that talk as well, before we jump onto parenting, is so my slot was 20 minutes and there was 10 minutes in between speakers, and I'd practiced my talk. It'd never gone over 21 minutes, and I could see the lady who runs it out the corner of my eye getting closer and closer to the stage, and I thought, well, there's no way. I know this is 20 minutes. And it was nearly 27 minutes. And, and I don't know how. And I just got lost in the notes, and I just kind of gave up on them in the end and just went with the flow. And although I came off it feeling like it was a whirlwind, and I didn't sort of have a sense of euphoria of, oh, that went so well, all the feedback I've had afterwards was actually, it was the real you, and you didn't stand there like a robot. People could see a vulnerable person that they could connect with, and that's nice, that's lovely. And I actually think I'd rather that kind of come across like that. Anyway, back to parenting.
Before you go on to parenting though now, because I just want to add to that, because I watched and I saw, and it was one of the best I saw, if not the best. And I think it's because you didn't carry on with your script and you just became human and you became vulnerable and all those things. But I don't know if you realise just how good you are on the stage. You just own it. You've got a presence, and I don't mean that to sound patronising in any way. It was just really, it just took me right in. It wasn't a moment where I thought, come on, Simon, you're running over.
Yeah, shut up now.
And she does do that. I was going to say the same, because I watched you on stage in Denver with Annie Grace, and I was thinking exactly the same.
You didn't go to Denver though.
No, I didn't. I wasn't there. I watched it on
I wish you were.
I wish we were as well.
We'll come next time. But yeah,
I'm talking there in September. I'm doing it again.
Really?
Yeah, there's an exclusive for you, because no one knows. They do now.
Oh, we like an exclusive.
We do. We love to say we've got gossip.
But yeah, the stage presence, and I think like what you said, the vulnerability, and you just come across as so normal and you, and it's just lovely to watch. It really, really is. But that's enough now.
No, I'm
not
doing
having
it.
any more compliments now. We're done.
If you could keep going, that's great. I'll take that. No, thank you.
We'll be able to get
means
it
a
with
lot.
Simon, if we carry on. We don't want you banging your head again.
No, that's true. No, in fact, it means a lot. That's really kind.
So can you then talk to us a little bit about your parenting, in terms of, like, you know, from a dad's perspective, how has stopping drinking helped you, and what kind of challenges have you had to face?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's absolutely huge to me. When I was drinking, I did used to put alcohol ahead of my son in a big way. I mean, I can remember it, where, especially when he was younger, so he's 15 now, but when he was kind of, before he was a teenager, and I suppose I had more of a level of control over him, I would just want him out of the way in the evening so I could dig into the wine, and it would just be, you know, he's off to bed, he's in his room, just get the Shiraz out and drink. And I would actually, and I hate saying it, but I would actually kind of get a bit annoyed if he perhaps come back into the living room when I was sat there trying to drink and do my thing during my time. So there's that aspect of it while I was actually drinking. But then there's all the other things. For example, the number of times that like my wife, we were looking at core values recently around what lights us up in our lives. And one of my wife's, she didn't even need to write it down, is family. Now, I don't come from a big family. I'm an only child. And so families to me is not as important because I've never had a big family. It's kind of me and my mum and my stepdad. But my wife Michelle comes from a big family, and family is so important to her. She loves doing family things, and I can remember so many times where I would make excuses and refuse to do things either as a family, my wife, me and my son, or with the wider family, because I wanted to drink or because I had a hangover and just didn't feel like it. You know, even if it was taking our son bowling or going to a fireworks event at the school or whatever, you know, if that event went past 8 o'clock, which was my wine time, I started to get tetchy about it and wanted to be back here. But at the time I was in that bubble and I never really gave it much thought. But now I look back on that, I can see how damaging it was. You know, my son's being dragged away from his friends because dad wants to get home for 8. Yeah, dad's saying it's for his dinner, but it's actually so he can drink his wine, you know.
I don't think you realise at the time, you know, I think a lot of mums are the same with that, aren't they? You know, it's like, get the kids in bed and we'll have a glass of wine, or go to your room. So, but at that time, you do not realise that you're doing that. It's not till afterwards you look back and reflect on it. And like you said, you're thinking, oh no, I feel bad saying this, but this is what I used to do. And I think so many people do this and don't even realise.
Most people are doing it. Most people who drink at a set time are doing that. Yeah.
And then obviously after I was able to quit and find freedom from alcohol, what I quickly realized was how much more present and engaged I am with my son, with my wife, and the actually wanting to listen to what he's got to say and being genuinely interested rather than my mind being slightly pulled in a different direction was eye-opening, because I'd never been like that before. And when he asks, can we do something together, actually feeling excited and passionate about wanting to do that thing with him. So yeah, and it has changed our relationship. You know, it's completely turned it around. I used to bicker with him. I used to be snappy and unreasonable, which then resulted in him being like that with me. And yeah, once you start, it kind of escalates, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of that, and he's a sensitive kid as well. So I feel like over the years I've kind of not helped with those sort of things. But the great news is, what has happened is our relationship's improved. I feel, there's so many things I could tell you about this, but I'll just try and stick to a few. But I feel like he's learned a lot from what I've done with quitting drinking. I mean, as you guys know, and you're the same, we've been really vocal about our stories. We're sharing to help other people, which is an amazing thing. And I love what you do. And I often have people say to me, Simon, yeah, I've drunk for 20 years and my kids have seen me drink every day of my life. I've done the damage, nothing can be changed. And nothing could be further from the truth.
Yeah.
Because he's almost become inspired by me quitting drinking. And I know it sounds so weird. I remember a couple of weeks into me quitting, I downloaded a sober counter app, and he came running into the kitchen a day or two after I'd shown him it. And he was like, Dad, I've downloaded that I Am Sober app.
Oh.
I said, why have you downloaded that? You don't drink booze, or there's something you're not telling me. He said, you've given up alcohol, I'm giving up fizzy drinks. And he's still got it on his phone. Yeah, honestly, he's still got it on his phone. He has had a couple of moments with Dr. Pepper, but
a few Dr. Pepper relapses.
But he's learned from them. He's learned from them and he's grown stronger. That's the important thing.
Oh, that's amazing.
So there, and I realised when that happened that he's kind of learning from this himself, and I felt like I'd almost shown him. I helped him understand about alcohol, and I feel like he learned things he could never unlearn. I didn't preach to him. I just had grown-up, open conversations about what I was doing and why I was doing it. And he's a bright kid. He took it all on board. And then there was a time, it was probably middle of last year, he was staying at a friend's house down in the southwest, and he texted me and he said, Dad, my friend's just got out a bottle of gin and they're drinking it. And he said, I'm not going to have any. I'm not interested and I wouldn't want to let you down. And I was like, it was it. And then I thought, God, if I hadn't quit drinking, you would have tried that.
Yeah.
But I also appreciate, and I'm not naive enough to think he probably will explore alcohol, but I feel like, as I say, he's learned things he can never unlearn. And I've set him up for success, hopefully, on his own journey.
Yeah, I think you definitely have. It's a topic that I'm really interested in because my son, he's the same age as your son. And shortly after I stopped drinking, we went on holiday. And when we came back from holiday, he said, oh, Mum, I've recorded a video for you that I want you to see. And he'd record, it's only really short, but it's lovely, isn't it? Yeah. And he's a bit awkward on it, but he's recorded this little video and he basically talks about all the positives since I stopped drinking, and he wanted to show it me, and I was really touched. And again, I'm not naive enough to think that he will never experiment or he will never, go out and get drunk in his later teens or in his early 20s. But I do think that by setting that example, he will see that actually it doesn't need to get to that point before you make a decision to stop.
Yeah, exactly that. And that's a lovely story for him to do that video. I think that had made me cry. I don't know if you did.
It did make me cry. It did.
Yeah, that absolutely would. Yeah, that's really sweet. But yeah, and this is what I say to people when they feel like irreparable damage has been done. The past is the past, but kids look up to us, they learn from us, they want to be like us. I wanted to be like my dad. That's why I started drinking the same wine he drank and thought it was the gateway to adulthood. But yeah, that's amazing. And I suppose the other thing, which again I touched on this at the Mindful Drinking Festival when I was talking about it, is my son's faced some challenges around his sexuality and his gender. And I do often think how the drinking Simon would have handled that compared to the sober Simon.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've been on a journey together with it, and I've kind of held his hand through it and given him the support he needed. I've been gentle and with him, and he can vent at me or become frustrated, whatever. But the drinking me definitely probably would have definitely would have buried my head in the sand and just drunk more and been snappy and unreasonable and all the other things. We've been to Pride together, we've been to all sorts of things, and just on a journey. And I'm trying to reframe the whole thing in his mind as well, as instead of it being something frustrating and something that's a challenge, it should be something that's exciting and a journey of self-discovery, just like quitting drinking is.
Yeah. Oh, you give me goosebumps.
Do you think, Simon, it would have opened up to you the same had you been drinking?
I think he would, actually, because so he's got autism, and he doesn't really think about what the implications of some of his actions are. Yeah. For example, when he started at his new senior school, I said to him, look, don't go in the first day and tell everybody that you're gay. It's an all boys school. Scope it out. There's bound to be other boys. Get the lay of the land, blah, blah, blah. Leave it a bit. We'll talk, and then we'll come up with a strategy. First day, came home, he told everybody. And again, with the whole gender side of things, that was, my wife and I found out about that via text message. So I think he would, because he wears his heart on his sleeve and he just tells it like it is. However, I do imagine there are other parenting situations where kids may be afraid or wary of talking to parents who snap. I mean, fortunately, my wife is like an oasis of calm in a massive desert full of sandstorms, which is me and my son. But however, so I think he's always totally cool and comfortable talking to her about anything. So she's always been that kind of stability element, which is great. But I think, or I hope, he sees me much more like that now. I mean, I don't think I'll ever be stable, but I'm as stable as I'm going to be.
Well, any of us, Simon.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Well, that brings us nicely on to the next thing that you wanted to talk about.
Yes, you've just recently been diagnosed with ADHD, is that right?
That is right, yeah.
So I think I've got this. Alex thinks I've got it. And since when I saw you'd wrote it on your Facebook page, and you've been really open about it, and you'd put like some of the things what made you think it. And I was reading down this list of things, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, I remember being like that, yeah.
And I messaged Alex, and I was like, Alex, I think I might have ADHD. And she was like, you definitely have.
No, what I actually said was, oh, no shit, Sherlock, you definitely have. I could have told you that.
That's what people used to say to me. People used to say exactly that.
Yeah, but nobody said it before. I've had to realise this for them people to kind of go, yeah, I think you have. And I'm like, all right, well, you could have mentioned it. So could you tell us a little bit about this, and what made you decide to go and get this test?
Yeah, for sure. So for as long as I can remember, I rush everything. I rush around. I will, even when I cut. So let's say I come downstairs in the morning, I've just got up, I will fill the kettle up, and I'll probably spill the water because so quickly I want to get it back and plugged in, at the same time as getting the tea bags out, trying to check my emails, trying to open the fridge for the milk, and stuff's going everywhere, and it's just kind of chaos because I'm just rushing everywhere. And I was telling my mum, actually, she came around earlier, in the supermarket, I'd fill my trolley up, and the closer I get to the tills, the faster I start to move, even though I'm moving fast anyway. I mean, I don't know why. I don't know who I'm trying to beat, but it's quite a good example. And then things will irritate me. It could be anything from people driving through to people walking slowly, you name it. Mood swings. 1 minute I'm feeling relatively happy, the next minute it takes just the slightest little thing and I'm in a grump, and then I can come back out of it again. Impulsive behavior, you know, I mean, I remember one time we were stuck in a traffic jam outside a car dealership, and I looked in and I thought, oh wow, that car looks nice, and I told my wife to pull over. We went in and I bought it. I won't tell you how much it was, but it was a lot of money, and it was just impulsive. And the car I've got now, I saw it online. I just phoned the guy up, paid for it over the phone. I just wanted it. Decision made. Stuff like that is a bit. Well, it's not great, is it? And so impulsive behaviour, and then hyperactivity is an interesting one, because you can also have something called hyperfocus. So hyperfocus is where you can immerse yourself into something, like writing a book, for example, and you just don't stop until you've got it done. I mean, my wife and I have built a really successful business. We've got 25 staff, and it does really well. And I'm not involved in it day to day anymore, but I was hyper focused on it when I lived it, I breathed it. I still help out, but I'm not hyper focused on it. And like my Be Sober group, you know, I want to have the biggest sober group. I can't just quit drinking, put it like that. I want to do talks. I want to write books. I want to be something and take it further.
I know it's really, I heard you saying this actually. I think it was on your Sunday night with Pippa.
Yes, yeah.
I'm on fire.
Yeah, I think, and you'd said that you can't just, like you said, you can't just go sober. And I'm a little bit like this. Like once I went to Slimming World, right? So, and I did really well off it, but normal people would go, right, that's it. No, not me. I decided that's it. I'm going to be a consultant. I'm going to be a team developer at it. I'm going to live it. I'm going to breathe it. And then once I'd finished with it, that was it. I'd done now. I don't want to do it anymore. I'm not talking about it anymore. Then I stopped drinking. So I don't just stop drinking. I convert everybody around me to stop drinking too. And so I kind of, when I heard you say that, I was like, oh my God, that's just me. That's what I feel like.
And you're so fidgety. Honestly, she makes me dizzy. I fidget, but she's like this.
Oh my God. I couldn't sit still I mean, my wife's here. You can ask her. But I couldn't sit still for how long?
5 minutes.
like 5 minutes, she said. You know, I honestly, sometimes she says to me, I'm just going to sit on the sofa for an hour. And I'm like, how do you do that?
That's what I'm like. I can't understand people that can do it. And like, even now talking to you, and I would never notice it, but because me and Alex do so much together and we sat so close to each other, I'm like banging her, I'm messing with my hands.
She feels my leg on a daily basis nowadays. It's a good job I'm really comfortable with her, because she's always grabbing my leg and my knee and my arm. And yeah.
But I never realised any of this until you said. But is this something that you noticed before you stopped drinking?
Yeah, so sorry, that was to get to the point, wasn't it? I was just telling you the symptoms. Yeah. So all of that had gone on for years. And just like you, people have, when jokes have come up about ADHD or whatever, people have said to me, well, of course you have, it's obvious. But I never really took it seriously. But what had happened, and this is interesting, in fact, it's incredibly interesting. So when I quit, my anxiety faded away and it's never come back. And that's amazing. And thank God, because it was awful. But over the last couple of years, the ADHD symptoms have been more obvious, a lot more obvious. And my wife has really been aware of them much more so than they were before. And there's a lot of frustration. I mean, one of the classic things that I do is, say my wife was going out and she had said to me, I'm going out with my friend tonight. I might stay out. I might come back. That would drive me nuts, because I need an answer. Are you or aren't you? And I would text her, or I'd harass her, multiple messages. And it's like that with anything that I don't have a straight answer on. And I think what I used to do was I'd feel these feelings of frustration with certain things, because it's not a nice place to live in. I wouldn't say I was happy. But it was always okay because I had a bottle of wine in the cupboard and I could look forward to that. And it took the edge off of it all. Not necessarily the process of drinking, but just the fact that I could I suppose I knew I could numb out. So I think I was actually subconsciously self-medicating it, even though I hadn't put the pieces together. So yeah, to them, it just has become so much more obvious. It's like, because alcohol's not involved, it's like the curtains have been pulled back on it and there's no hiding from it. So yeah, we talked about it and I thought, well, I'll do a few online tests just to get a feel for it. And they were all over 90%. And the scale, so I got my son to do some and I thought, well, maybe it's the tests. They're all like that. They're just trying to get you to buy something. And it wasn't. And I got my wife to do them and same thing. No, hers were, the arrow was down here and mine was up there. And I did 3 or 4 of these tests. And so I thought I'll post them on Facebook, see what people say. And a lot of people were saying things like, well, of course you have, it's obvious type thing. So I bit the bullet. I thought I'm going to go for an assessment. I want to know about this, and did the assessment, which was about 3 hours of questions and tests and things like that. And the guy at the end, he said, normally we will email you this, but I can tell you right now, you've got combined adult ADHD.
No way. So how's that changed your kind of daily living now that you know?
Well, I felt relief that I know what that is, and I think so did my wife and my son to a degree. My wife definitely, my son to a degree. And they've been so much more understanding around some of the behaviours that come with it, and knowing that it's not me just being annoying. I can't help some of these things. But what has changed dramatically is, so the doctor prescribed me some medication for it. So I spent 4 days researching this medication, reading every forum, every blog about every side effect because of the ADHD. I couldn't help it. And I hyper-focused on it. And again, this is amazing because this has come through sobriety as well. Somebody from the alcohol experiment who I'm quite friendly with, her daughter's got ADHD, and we started talking because she emailed me when she saw my status, and her daughter has the same medication, and she told me her daughter's experience of it, and she said, Simon, you should try it, don't hold back. And it was when I spoke to her, I thought, do you know what, I'm going to treat this as an experiment, just like I encourage people to do with alcohol.
Yeah.
So I started taking the tablets, and every day I've been journaling my experience so that when I go back to the doctor, we can review it together, and I can look back and say, well, these are the good things, these are the questions, these are the bad things. And my God, the first day I took it, it was like somebody had flicked a switch. Nothing has irritated me since I started taking it. Nothing seems to be able to faze me or stress me out. And I just feel like somebody's turned my speed dial down from 10 to 4.
Really?
You're going for an assessment, I'm paying for it.
The funny thing is, these tablets are actually amphetamine based.
Really?
Yeah. So, but when you've got ADHD, it has the reverse effect. It kind of just slows things down, and it gets your dopamine levels where they should be. So if I gave one of those tablets to my wife, she would be high and bouncing off the walls, whereas it actually just slows me down, it calms me down. But it's so funny, like I was at the airport, obviously the trip to Valencia, and airport to me is an absolute trigger for irritability, stress, and I just feel like I just sort of breeze through stuff now, and it just nothing phases me. It's just like a sort of go with the flow thing. It's hard to describe, but it's incredible.
I can see that, I think, with you. By just you talking about it, you can see, can't you, that how much better you do actually feel.
It's just an amazing, it's life-changing. And it is early days because I've only been on them for 3 weeks, two or 3 weeks. But, I can't believe I've lived all that time not knowing what normal felt like. But it's all part of the learning process.
We were having a conversation earlier, actually, on similar lines where, you know, both of us are really extreme in personality. So we went out on Friday night and we were both on a real high. Saturday morning comes, we're both on a real downer. And both of us would have put that down to the beer fear thing before.
Yeah.
Actually, I've just realised that, you know, this is my natural personality. I'm an up, down person. And I haven't yet found an even keel. And I said to Lisa, what if this is just being alive? What if this is what it's meant to feel like? And actually, all we were doing before with alcohol is just keeping ourselves flat. We have no idea whether we're just meant to be this way.
Yeah, it's so weird, isn't it? Like when you came round before, because we are either up or down. So like Alex walked in, I was like, oh, I feel really down today. And she's like, yeah, I do as well. It's just,
I feel all right now.
Yeah,
I think you've cheered us up, Simon.
Yeah, you have.
Well, there you go. I'm good for something. But then, and again, that's a really good point, because I wrote a blog post about dealing with emotions without the false armor of alcohol. And I remember the first time that something happened in my life that, you know, really was painful and hurt and made me cry, and I had to feel those emotions without knowing that I could reach for a bottle of wine to numb it all out. And yeah, that's hard, but it was also a new feeling and a new experience. But not only could I feel them, I could also go through them and out the other side of them, rather than put the pause button on them and they're still waiting for me the next morning. I felt like I almost could self-close them, get closure on them.
Yeah, it's like self-healing, isn't it? I remember doing the same when I found out my dad had passed away, not long into me stopping drinking, and I've not seen him for ages. And I spoke about this the other day. It brought quite a few different feelings of guilt and sadness. And I remember just sat in the car and I pulled over and cried and cried and cried. And that would have been a time where normally I would have suppressed that and gone and got a bottle of wine and gone out and turned from being sad into the life and soul. And I'd just put it away for years. But instead, I did exactly that. I felt it, I thought about it, and kind of came out the other side.
I think it's a bit like, I mean, I know quite a few kind of counsellors, and I've done sessions obviously with some counsellors, and none of them told me I had ADHD, by the way. But it's a bit, I think it's a bit like we've got this kind of filing cabinet in our heads, and when you have an awful experience like that, and you deal with it properly and work through it, you know, the file goes away in the cabinet, the memory is dealt with, you've got closure. But when they're not dealt with, it's almost like the file's been scattered over the floor, and it's an unresolved memory that can come back and cause problems in many different ways. But I definitely feel that too. And I definitely cry more these days. I don't know if it's because I'm a big girl, but I definitely do that. But I think that's because I feel like I'm in check with my emotions as who I am.
But you laugh more as well, though.
Yeah, absolutely. I do. I laugh more. I'm more engaged and more present. I remember a time when I genuinely felt like I was destined to become a grumpy old man. I just didn't smile. I didn't laugh. And that was kind of what I thought life was.
And I just cannot imagine that version of you, Simon.
No.
Wasn't there? I'll ask my wife. Tell them how grumpy I was.
Miserable bit.
We'll believe you.
We want you and your wife on our next podcast together.
Yeah,
it'll be fun.
She won't come on the camera. She's hiding around the corner. And how much have I changed?
100%.
Yeah.
Literally.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's an amazing
So I bet
journey.
it's been quite a journey for your wife as well, really, hasn't it?
Do you want to say something?
Yeah,
You don't want to.
Yeah, come and tell us.
Come and tell us. She sat here on Facebook. It has been quite a journey for her, and we did actually do a YouTube video which I had to bribe her with some. I can't remember if it was handbag or shoes, but where we talked about how it feels for your partner when you quit drinking. It's one of the most viewed videos on my YouTube channel, and so many people related to it and saw it from a different perspective. So I do appreciate you doing that, and it would be nice if you'd come on, but
no pressure, of course. No, it is a lovely story to hear. And you know what, as well, I want everybody who doesn't follow you, or everybody in our groups, anyone who doesn't know about you, they've got to find you because you are such an inspiration. So tell them where they can find you and how they can get hold of you, Simon.
Oh yeah, sure. So my Facebook group, which is a huge community of people from all around the world who are changing their relationship with drinking. There's people who want to quit, people who have quit, people who've quit for decades, in there, whole mixed bag of people. That if you search Be Sober, BE Sober in Facebook, it's the first group that comes up. Join the group. It's totally free. When you join, there's an option to put your email address in, and I can send you the first 10 chapters of my book for free. So that, I just kind of give that as a welcome kind of thing. You can follow me on Instagram, which is at Be Sober and Quit, which I was late to the party with Instagram. I really was. I've just done everything on Facebook for years, and I only actually started using Instagram as a kind of community, or building a community, probably about 8 months ago. But I'm active on it now, and try and share. And I try and share different things on there to what we share on the Facebook pages. Then there's the Be Sober website, which is besober.co.uk. I put regular blog posts on there and videos from the YouTube channel as well. I think the most useful thing about the website is all of the old blog posts, because they're from the early days when I quit, and people can just read it, warts and all, spelling errors and all, just how it was at that time for me. And I think that a lot of those have resonated with people around, because I was putting a post on how it feels on day 4, day 5, and things like that, and the ups, the downs, the tears, the smiles, all the rest of it. They're all on there. So I feel like it's like a library for someone who wants to quit drinking.
You need that in the early days as well, because I think when you're quite far into it, people will ask me now, or we see people in the early days, and I can't remember how I felt, or because I'm in such this good place with sobriety now. And I sometimes type my own name in a Facebook group that I was in, not to see my old posts.
That's a good idea.
Because I really used them in the early days, the Facebook groups. I think they were essential for me, and just to get things off my chest and share my story.
Yeah, right, me too.
So I just type it in and think, oh, look where we were at day 30, or it's really good.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Facebook groups are great. So I feel like I've kind of built this library of content that is out there for anyone to use as they wish. Everything from my first holiday sober, going to a wedding, all the rest of it. I always tried to give it, I don't know if you've heard the phrase HRT. It's not hormone replacement therapy, but everything whenever I do anything, and I don't actually do it consciously, but Annie taught me this. I always try and make sure that people have hope, so that there's a hope of change, and you can see that there'll be something better from this. And then the R is to try and build a relationship with people. If people feel they can connect with me and see, wow, he's just like me, he's just a normal person. And then T is tactics. And actually, when I write a piece of content, putting tactics in there. So, great. Yeah, all this stuff sounds wonderful. Tell me how to do it.
Yeah.
So I always try and do that as well. Make it simple. This is how I did that. This was what worked for me, and this was what didn't.
And that's what the second part of your book is really about, isn't it? Because it really helped me, actually, because I had not done, I think it was it sober wedding or sober dance? It was sober something, I don't know what it was, but there was definitely, you even talk about sober relationships and everything and the raunchy stuff. But
that was hard to write, that one.
Yeah, well.
Do you want to jump on now, Michelle? Tell them about that one. Jesus, that was like losing my virginity all over again.
I actually read that and thought, oh, how brave. I think I might try and write a post like that. But anyway, I never have.
Yeah, that's a tough topic. A lot of people find that the sober sex thing can be a real barrier and something that sends them back down the rabbit hole of drinking.
Yeah.
But you need to be gentle with yourself. The first time I was really scared. Like the first time I had sex without drinking. I'm not, afraid of talking about it. And it was tough. And I remember actually having a conversation with Michelle about how I felt, and actually saying to her, oh my God, I was going to say, be gentle with me. It sounds like she beats me up. I don't want to be gentle. Let's not go down this road.
Emotionally.
Yeah, emotionally. Yeah, be gentle.
Come on, Simon, get your words out.
So after she put the whip away and was gentle with me, but so in all seriousness, I needed that. It was tough and it felt scary. I think the best description is it was like losing your virginity again.
I think it's good to hear that though from a man's perspective, because I think as a woman you just think it's kind of easy for men and they just do it anyway. Do you know what I mean?
You do. You don't realise how much emotion's attached to it for most men, do you?
No, because women are quite, with the self-conscious, but you do think that's just a woman thing, don't you?
You do.
But and when we talked about it as well, we kind of actually tried to work out the last time we'd done it without booze involved.
Yeah.
And we couldn't even think of when that time was. So I'd relied on it that much for confidence. It just became a thing. You drink and then you might have sex. And so it was tough. And I'd say the first couple of times were like eye-opening, and the first time was definitely scary. But after that, it was the same thing as a lot of the other things we experience in terms of being fully present, the connection, the sensation, all of it was on actually a heightened level because my senses weren't dulled, and I wouldn't have it any other way. And you can remember it in the morning. Sometimes you don't want to, I guess, but you can remember things.
I can just imagine Michelle's face in the corner there. Like, stop!
You should see it.
Shut up, Simon.
You should see it. Yeah. She's like, stop, change the subject.
No, it's a really good subject because I do think it makes people uncomfortable and awkward. And, I got sober and my husband stopped drinking to support me. So we had to both have sober sex. And I don't think it was so much of an issue for him. But for me, it's like you say, I was like, oh my God, you're in the moment. And it's like, I felt really uncomfortable. And this is a man that I've been with for years, I felt really uncomfortable. Oh my God, he's going to be looking at this part or touching this part or...
Yeah, right. Yeah. Exactly that. The first time for me, I definitely wouldn't say I enjoyed it, and I wouldn't want to, give... No, not the first time. Ignore that voice in the corner. That's what I told her. But from there on in, like, I honestly wouldn't have it any other way. And it's just better. And then, I mean, again, can't believe we've ended up on this topic, but the other thing, of course, from a guy's perspective is like losing an erection if you drink too much. And that's, that used to happen sometimes. I almost knew where the line was. There was a line between it being okay and then you're over the edge. And I almost knew where it was, and sometimes I'd drink too much and it was useless. So that's another point. And then you've also got the other element, which I don't think I ever did, but of sometimes if you drink too much during especially if it's somebody haven't been with like for a long time and you don't know, you might overstep boundaries or do something that actually is not cool, and you think because you're not really fully engaged and fully present that it's okay, or they're cool with that, and actually they're not. So it can lead to all sorts of things, especially if you're really drunk.
I think legally as well, especially for people who aren't in a relationship and might be going home for a one-night stand or whatever, you're in a really grey area when you're drunk about consent, and it's a really dodgy place to get. Yeah,
and it's becoming more and more significant, and the whole consent thing, and absolutely it should be. So I completely agree that often I imagine people wake up and they don't know who or what or why or how it all started in the first place.
They do. And just us going out on Friday night into Manchester, and
you said it, didn't you, on the way back to the car?
I said it's just so dangerous. Like, I've never noticed that before, but because we was in town and you could see like women and girls on their own,
staggering around and
slumped up against walls, or,
Yeah.
or doing things that they perhaps they wouldn't do, and you can see in their eyes. And I just thought, it is just so ridiculously dangerous.
Yeah, I agree.
And we have put each other and ourselves in that position where we've not fully known what you're doing, and we're still, because of the loss of inhibition, you no longer care what you're doing.
Yeah,
all the
that was the other thing I didn't mention. I'm glad you said that. Absolutely. You've lost those inhibitions, so you might end up sleeping with somebody that you don't even fancy, you don't even like, you know, and doing it on the first night when you didn't really want to. So, yeah, it's definitely something that I think people should explore. And if they feel that, after that first time, second time, it still feels tough, you stick with it. It took me a couple of goes to kind of get where I wanted to be. And clearly you had similar experiences as well.
Yeah, absolutely we did. And I think on that note, we're kind of we're kind of done there. Is there anything we haven't asked you that you want to share or talk about?
I think I've pretty much shared my entire life story there, haven't I?
Actually, I'm really pleased. This will be our most listened to podcast, Simon.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if this one doesn't go viral, I don't know what you need to do.
No, that's it. You've just shot us off to fame. The three of us now. That's it. We're made for life, Simon.
To be honest, I just on a serious note though, I think you know this already, but I do like to be guys don't talk about certain topics enough, and I feel like kind of honoured that I've got a big community and people seem to like some of the things I share and some of the things I have to say, which makes me feel kind of humble, if I'm honest. So I want to talk about the thorny stuff and the things that are difficult, whether that's ADHD, sober sex, parenting, whatever. And particularly from a male perspective, a lot of guys, especially when they're from like a pub culture background, and that it's a macho thing not to talk about emotions, feelings, sex in the bedroom, whatever. We need to open up about this stuff, and I feel like doing that is really important to me.
And I'm so glad you do, Simon, because like you said, not many men will talk about it, but you know what? They might be listening in the cars on the way to work, and
exactly.
You can just be there and share your story. I have no doubt that you are helping so many people with your journey. I think it's just amazing.
It's incredible. I get emails every day. I mean, I show them to Michelle, my wife, who's here, as I say. Every single day from people saying, it blows my mind even now that I get all these messages saying, I've read your story and it's inspired me, or I read something specific and it helped me, or just asking me a question and looking for a bit of support or accountability. It's just mind-blowing that that's happened, and that people are actually touched, inspired, helped by something I've shared or something I've said. And well, I never thought that had happened from quitting drinking, put it like that.
It's amazing, isn't it, what can happen by just putting that glass down.
Yeah, it is. And I think perhaps that's why people look at my story and sort of think, wow, he's gone from there to writing a book and talking and all the rest of it. And it's great. It's just, I wouldn't change it for the world, put it like that.
Oh, neither would we. Thank you so much, Simon.
Yeah, thanks for being on. And just before you go, I just want to tell anyone that's listening, if you want to see Simon and you want to hear from him live, poor Michelle might not be quite in the picture because she might not want to, but 28th of March, our event, come along because Simon's on the panel, and I'm sure he'll be more than willing to talk about ADHD and sober sex all over again.
Oh, 100%, yeah. Well, now we've talked about this, it's going to be the main topic. I'm going to make sure of it. I think, Michelle, you're coming to that one, eh?
Yes.
Yeah, Michelle's coming as well. So.
Oh, that's lovely. I look forward to it. I've met you once, Michelle, I think, at the Mindful Drinking Festival anyway, but it'd be nice to actually catch up and have a chat about Simon when he's not with us.
Oh my God.
Thank you again. What was that?
Thanks for having me. It's been awesome.
Take care. It's lovely to have been speaking to you.
See you later, Simon. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.